I met Oshi-san many years ago when I came to Japan to just promote, I think it was Blade 2. And I wanted to meet with him because he is an author, filmmaker I respect very much. And I went to his studio, his animation studio, and I saw his layout, and he talked to me. He was nice enough to talk to me a little bit about his process. And I've been a fan of his for decades, so I was very honored and very happy. What was great was the atmosphere in his studio, in which everybody was incredibly dedicated. There was passion for the animation. There was a very respectful atmosphere where they revere Oshi-san as a guidance, as a director, but everybody was there working late. Everybody was working very young, very dedicated, and it felt like a unity. You know, it has hundreds of people, but all the people had the same vision that he had. So it was beautiful to see animation still being hand-drawn. This already was when CGI was taking over, and he was still having his people draw mostly by hand. And I think that at the time it impressed me, the volume, the number of seconds that they would do every day for an American studio. That was enormous. So I was very impressed by the work ethic, by the quality of the work, and by the spirit of the work. I've been a fan of his since, for example, his Only You, Only You early on. I saw Angel Egg, I saw all the movies, but I didn't see Pat Labor until later because Jim Cameron. I showed Jim Cameron Battle Angel Alita, and he showed me Pat Labor, and we were both amazed at the level of imagination on the work. The Pat Labor movies, I think, certainly influenced me on creating Pacific Rim because they have a very real set of circumstances. And when we were doing Pacific Rim, I didn't want a movie where the origin of the robots was described. Like Oshi-san, I wanted to start in the middle of the war, right when things are already there. And I think that was a big influence in me. It was also a big influence in me to try to make the technology look real, to not try to just make it like a science fiction or anime mecha that is fancy and colorful, but that they look like real machines. Those were very big influences on me. I think Oshi-san is a visionary, and I think he uses the robots to talk about people, and he uses the robots to talk about our society. He uses cyborgs, fantasy, science fiction to talk about now. He may be creating works of the future, but he's looking at the human condition. He is very interested in the human passions, greed, war, love, what makes us human. And he uses these fantastical creatures and fantastical creations to illuminate our human condition, like a philosopher, and as a social storyteller. He talks about our society in the future, not with the wonder only of the beautiful robots and the great technology, but as a warning of what technology can do to humanity, and also a warning of what we can become if we abandon the fragile aspects of what it is to be human. And I think that his vision of the future is a vision of the future with an eye to the today. I think that people think that fantasy is used to escape reality, but fantasy is used to understand reality. If you use it correctly, from the beginning of science fiction, there has been two types of science fiction authors. Jules Verne which is somebody that is fascinated by the possibilities of the future, or H.G. Wells later that is warning us about the human condition through his fantasy work. And I think Oshii-san belongs to the second category, the one that is warning us, but at the same time he has a little bit of the love of Jules Verne for the machines. I think that I too fall in love with my robots, and I love them, but I'm interested in the humans. Japanese filmmaking, Japanese anime, live action always has been, and the manga has always been a big influence for me. I think that Japan has a huge attraction for me as a culture and as a way of seeing the world, because you can honor the values of the past or talk about the loss of those values of the past, but with a fable about the future. Oh, many, so many. I think that you can go back to Tetsujin, or you can go back to Skyers 5, or you can go back to Osamu Tezuka, or you can go back to all of early Oshii, Otomo Katsushiro, obviously Ghibli, and so many others. Whether it's something quiet and intimate in manga, like Distant Neighborhood, or it's something full of action, like Go Nagai, or it can be full of pathos and humanity, like Tezuka, they influence me. I also love horror, manga horror, Junji Ito, and many others, and I think the sort of Japanese cyberpunk movement in manga and anime in the 90s and 80s, it was very strong and influenced my whole generation. I love Pad Labor, and I love seeing the live action components that now Mamoru Oshii-san has mastered with other stories, bring to this arena. Because before, I think Oshii-san kept his live action much more rooted in reality, and I love seeing his robots in the daylight, in battle. I love the possibility of seeing that. I think the characters seem, as always, oriented towards a humanistic story, and the battles between the Pad Labors and the helicopters seem to be really full of action and full of his little idiosyncratic touches. So I'm very excited to see the movie. And technically, by the way, they are not robots. They're Pad Labors. I mean, it's a big difference, but we sometimes call them robots because it's easier for people to understand, but they are suits, Mamoru Oshii-san, this is Guillermo, and I wanted to tell you that every time you release one of your works in any medium, we are all watching and waiting for it, and you make us better artists, and the world is much better for you being in it to tell your stories. Thank you very much.
ロボットの普及に伴う犯罪に備え、警視庁はパトレイバー中隊を設立。そして今、新たなる脅威がこの国を襲う。見えない戦闘ヘリだ。すごい。AH-88J2 回。グレイゴースト。
あいつは東京の上空を飛んでるだけで脅威であり、1000万富を人質に取れるわけだ。
嵐が来る。
レーバーは起動禁止だそうだ。こんな時に。
国社2課のレーバー隊員に次ぐ公開しなさい。
戦力はまだある。そうよね。
パトレイバー首都決戦。